Today's daf is daf nun gimel, and we're up to the bottom of the page and Beis Amid Beis on the bottom. And we're constantly going to refer back to the argument between Rab and Shmuel, according to Rab, that any casualties inside your boat, you're responsible because it's heavily, it's your stale ear that caused it to happen. It's not the impact, because the impact is on public property, so why should you be paying for that? And the boy generally is just a cause, and the Tatus made a chiddush that you're responsible, so it's the stale ear that you created. And according to Shmuel, the stale ear, but surely the impact, because you're the one who exposed the boy there, and therefore you're responsible for that. So our Mishnah said that if you fell forward inside what do you call it? Inside a bird, as we'll soon see in a minute. If you fell forward, what happened was the guy started making noises inside the bird, banging away, chiseling away. So if you fell forward as a result of that, the owner of the bird is chayiv. The one who was chiseling is not chayiv because he's merely a cause. Causation you don't pay for. If you fell backwards, you are potter. Now, simply reading is, according to the Rabbi, is very simple. If you fell forward, then your nose is down at the bottom of the bird. If it's 10 tefachim deep and you die, you inhale the stale air, and that's why you die. So therefore, the owner of the bird is potter. But if is chayiv. But if you fell backwards, then your nose is above that line, and therefore you didn't die. Shmuel, how does he learn? Now, truth of the matter, Shmuel could learn the same way, because remember, Shmuel also agrees about stale air, but Shmuel also says it's the impact. So, if it's the impact and you fell backwards, who cares? You still banged your head, and it was 10 tefachim deep. So, Shmuel therefore has another pshat in our Mishnah. That's with up to the Gemara, and Beis on the very bottom of the page. No, for Lefonav, Omar Rav said, Lefonav means Lefonav Mamish. You fell down face first. La'achrav means La'achrav Mamish. You fell on your back. But both of them happen inside the boy. So why should there be a difference? Because Rabbi is consistent with his view. When the Torah said Yechayiv and Boyd is lehev loy v'loy lechabota. The Torah says Yechayiv for the hevel, for the stale ear, but not for the impact. So that's why there's a difference between if you fell face first or on your back. Shmuel holds impact. So what's the difference? Omar, this has a whole different shot in the Mishnah. Big boy, I hold if you tackle landed in the boy makes no difference. Even if you fell on the back of your head, the impact killed you, so you're chayiv. Shmuel Tameid Ahmad, he says surely the impact is your responsibility. You're the one who exposed this new rock. So what's trying the Mishnah? What's trying the Mishnah? If you fell backwards because of the sound, you are potter. Going to niskil the bird, you tripped over the bird. The nafa, but where did you fall? The boy was what caused you to trip, and then you fell backward, but you didn't fall inside the boy. You fell on the level ground. So because you fell on the level ground, that there's no owner for, and you are potter. Now the question is, but the Baal HaBoyer is the one who caused you to trip in the first place. So why doesn't he pay? And we learned Rav Nosson that says that if you can, we learned before, we learned today, if you cannot collect from one of the partners of the crime, then you go collect all of it from the other one. Since you cannot collect from the owner of the ground, you should go to the Baal HaBoyer. It's your rock that caused me to trip. Pay me for the whole amount. So Traces a few days ago said that if the Baal HaBoyer was solely responsible, then you're right. The Baal HaBoyer has to pay according to the whole amount, because the Chamim maybe half, because there's two partners. Because there's the tripping and there's the actual impact. They're both equally responsible. But over here, it was the guy who made that noise, the one who was chiseling away, that was it was a party to it as well. And when do we, since there were two parties here, in the tripping, not in the impact, but in the tripping, there were two parties. That's why the Baal HaBoyer is potter. It's only the Baal HaBoyer was the sole reason why you tripped. Then we say, Baal HaBoyer, you're responsible. You're a half share. And if nobody else is we can't collect money else, we'll go over collect everything from you. But over here, because there were two parties involved in the cause of the tripping in the takala, Baal HaBoyer goes away free. In Svara, it needs a bit of explanation. Why should that be? Why shouldn't he pay a share of it? What's it in tripping or impact? If tripping is equal to impact, or to the actual damage. He's a little hesber. No, because we'll see later in the Gemara, there were three partners and they're all equally responsible. So the whole Gemara today. Second Gemara further, H will ask a question. We'll ask you a question. It says, by a boy, it says, clearly, it says, inside the boy, even if you fall backwards, you're chayiv. So you to the Rav says, if you fall backwards, you're not chayiv. Avchiza said that's talking about a case where the boy is in your property. And if the bird is in your property, and let's say you gave access all around it, abutting the property, and the bird is in your property, so therefore, when do we say that you are potter from impact? Because the ground doesn't belong to you; it belongs to the rabbim, and you didn't do anything new. I just created I created the hole, but I didn't create it. Here, it's in my property. The rocks, the wall of the boy is also mine. Therefore, I'm responsible. If the boy is in Rishus, the Chayim Mishun Amalei Memanashach. If it was the stale that killed him, you created that stale. And and if it was the impact that killed him, it's your property. It's not like in the Rishus Rabbim that the point is it's not mine, it's yours. So therefore, that's why Rabbi, and that's what the Bryce is talking about. Rabbi gives another answer. You know why over here you're chayiv? It's talking about a case here been mishapech. As you were falling, you turned around. So you already inhaled the foul air, and then you turn around. So therefore, it's the foul air that killed you, and that's why you hold you a chayiv. Says the Gemara, the havola, the hanibei. That foul air that helped. Interesting. When you fell, you were above the 10 tfachim. You was, let's say, you're falling and then you turned over. You turn over before you hit the bottom. So if it's 10 tfachim deep, the stale air that you inhaled would have been 8 tfachim deep. And before we said that the havola above, that if it's less than 10 tfachim deep, that havola can only cause damage and not kill. So I'm not sure how. We're assuming that's what you're right. Then the Gemara could have answered 20 tfachim deep, and you okay, maybe that's what it is. You turned over somewhere in the bottom. Maybe good. Maybe that's what it's talking about here. Maybe it's talking about it's much deeper than 10 tfachim. So when you fell down, you fell 10 tfachim in face first. So you breathe in the foul air of 10 tfachim, and then you turn around and you fell on the 15 tfachim line or something like that. Okay, possibly. Rabbi Yosef, generally speaking, when we learn the Gemara, there's no measure. We say it's 10 tfachim. Rabbi Yosef says, I'm changing around the whole shot in the Braisa. You understood the Braisa talking about the boy damaged the shoyer, and therefore we're asking, what's going on over there. I'm telling you the Braisa talking about the shoyer damaged the boy. And because the shoyer damaged the boy, we say, I don't care how the shoyer fell in, head first or backwards, the shoyer has to pay. The owner of the shoyer has to pay. How does a shoyer, a cow, how does an ox damage a boy? Like I had before. My Niyushihivish is Meima, ruined of the water. And that's what the Bryce is talking about. Nothing to do with the boyer damaging the shoyer. It's the shoyer who damaged the boyer. Chaim, the Baal Shoyer, has to pay for the damage it did to that pit. Rav Chananya brought a Bryce to support Rav. It says, "V'nofal, you fell down ad sheyipol derech nefila, until you fall down the normal way. When you fall down, usually you fall head first. Mekan omru nofal lefonim nekol chayiv, and therefore the Bryce says, if you fall head first, you're chayiv, even though it was somebody scared the animal. Clearly, talking about in the bar and make a distinction between head first or back. This proves this Bryce at least supports Rav. Amama, you said before, it fell face first from the sound of the kriya because somebody's making noisy chayiv. My name is so why should the owner of the bar even pay? Let the person who was chiseling away pay. Says the Gemara. This follows Abnosen. The Amar says, Baal Haboid Hazeka Avid. The Baal Haboid, where did we find this animal? Where did we find this carcass? Inside the pit of the owner. So the Baal Haboid definitely has to shoulder the part of the responsibility. And now let's go to the person who dug and make him responsible as well. He's only a cause. He didn't do any direct damage to the thing. There was somebody else's hole. The animal was somewhere else. The animal, whatever, got scared and fell into the burr. So he caused it to happen. You don't pay for causing it. So what do you have now? A situation. You have the balaboy who contributed to the death of this animal, in fact, killed the animal. You have the person who made the noise. There were two partners. They were both to shoulder equally, but the one who made the noise, you can't charge him. In a court of law, you can't charge him because he just caused the damage. And Rab Nosson holds that if there are a number of people culpable, equal in our partners, and you can't go to one, whatever is missing, you collect from the other one. So in this case here as well. The balaboy did Hezek also contributed. And as a result of that, if you cannot collect from the person who dug, who's making noises, you go to this other person. And now this person making noise, before we said also he was a worker and he had a right to be there as well. As I said before, yeah. Um, what do you call it? The Tanya we learned. Now this is who's this Rab Nosson? What's Rab Nosson all about? So we're going to introduce Rab Nosson and the Chacham will argue. Time you learn if a shoy pushes another animal into a pit, so now you have two partners in this crime. You have the owner of the shoy who pushed this other ox, and you have the boy, the pit. The Chachamim say the owner of the shoy is solely chay because he pushed it into the boy, and the balaboy is potter. The balaboy is potter. Because the owner of the bird says to the shore, if your animal wouldn't have shoved that other animal in my bird, nothing would have happened. So this is like a proactive crime, and therefore you're responsible. Rab Nosson says, each one contributed, each one pays half. Each one pays half. Because between the two of them, he was killed. Because even if you shoved the cow, if there's no hole to shove it into, it would have fell down and that's it. Would have moved on. So the Gemara, what Tanya will another brayse. So you're telling me half and half, two equal partners. So now we're going to try to reconcile that with another brayse. What Rab Nosson said, Bal Habor Mishalim Gimel Chavakim. The owner of the boy pays 3/4. Well, Bal Hasher Levi and owner of the Ksher pays only 1/4. How do you explain that? So we'll give a number of different scenarios why one brayse says 1/4, one brayse says 3/4. Like Kasha. If the Baal Hashoy, remember Rab Nosson says if you cannot collect the full amount from one, you go to the other. If the owner of the shoy is a tam, so what's it? How much does a tam pay? A tam pays only half. And in this case, since he's a partner, there were two, he only pays half of that. So he pays 1/4. And who pays the other 3/4? Then we turn to the Balabur. Normally you pay the full amount. Okay, you pay 3/4 there. And so that's 1/4, 3/4. And Haba Muad. The case where it says that the Balashar pays 50%, it's not about a Muad. A Muad pays the whole amount, and because he's a partner, he pays 50. So the Gemara, let's understand. Ubetam, you're telling me a tam pays only 1/4. My kasava. Now, interesting. How do we, when you have two partners? Now, this is very interesting. How do we understand two partners who do something together? Did each one do the whole thing, but because you're partners, you pay half, or each one did only half? So I'm going to ask. Gemara wants an interesting question. It's a similar question we have when we have two partners own a property. Does each one own 100% or 50%, or each one owns 50% of 100%? In other words, do we say that do we say I have 50% of the property and you have 50%, we just don't know where it is? Or do we say that every inch, every millimeter of this property, we are each 50-50? So my kasabah, high kula has high kula each. If we say that what, that both of them are equally responsible, they both did the whole thing. No, it could be the shoy pushing the shoy would have killed the shoy on its own, and the boy, if the animal would have fell in, the boy could have killed. Each one could have done it on its own. So therefore, each one as if they did the whole thing. And so high mishal and palga, high mishal and palga. And now we're partners. Each one pays half. That's how it works. Is that what it is? That's what a tam is. Or the ikasaba. So the chayda. My question is that since the Baal Hashor did the entire damage, and so if he did the entire damage as a tam, how much should you pay? Half. So why is he paying only 1/4? You should pay half. No, boss. You say that what? No, since we both did it together, each one only did 50% of the damage, right? So therefore, how much should if each one did 50% of the damage, and that's why the tam pays 1/4, half of that. So how much should the Balabor pay? 50%, only 50. Why are you making pay 75? So Manushach, if you hold each one did 100% of the damage, and the Baal Hashoy, who's a tam, should pay 50% of that. Half. Why only 1/4? And if each one did 50%, and that's why the shoy pays only 1/4, because half of that, then the Balaboy should also only pay 50%. Why make it pay more than that? 3/4. The high power user, Balaboy, Mishal, Palgo, Balashoy, the Viva, Either Maxis. Now, of course, you get lost. That's the most question.
His principle is that whatever you can collect.
Yeah, but why should you be paying more than the amount of damage he did? You want to explain in a minute why. Why are you paying more than the amount of damage? He only did 50%, even though you can't collect, but you can't make charge me for something I didn't do. If I only did half the damage, then why are you making me pay more than 50%? There has to be a logic to it. So Rab Nosson says if you can't collect from one, you collect from the other, but collect from the other who also is responsible. But if you tell me I'm not responsible for more than 50% of the damage, why am I paying more? Rab Nosson Dainu. We learned the end of Hadith. Rab Nosson was a big dayan. The Nochi Lunkadina, he knows exactly what he's talking about. La'oila Kasavat, he holds, Haikula has Haikula. Each one did the full damage. Each one did the full damage. So even when you did full damage, so we understand. If you cannot collect from the owner of the shore, you go to the bar and say pay 3/4. So the only question is, so why doesn't the owner of the shore pay? Well, full damage, you're a time, pay 50%. Why is he paying 50% of 50%? Why are you paying only a quarter? I the kashalach. No, because he's a partner. I the kashalach l'shalom high palga high palga. Why doesn't the owner of the shore pay half? Normally, the balaboy should fight my hanile. I'm a partner. Why should I pay my full? Why am I responsible for my full damages if I had a partner? If the boy wouldn't have been the animal would have died. So the boy is my partner, so he should shoulder part. That's one answer. The boy say more. I could say, "Loy, look over high palgas they go high palgas they go." Each one does only half. If I had to go cash that half. Why is the boy paying more than 50%? Kind of a bala boy mishalam palga b'ashem shalom via vidachin nafsid. You know why? But he says to him, Balashoy, the Balaboy, the Balashoy says to the Balaboy, the owner, not this is the victim. The owner of the victim, the animal that was killed, says to the owner of the boy, the fact is, you're not just a 50% partner here. I found my carcass, the carcass of my shirt inside your boy. You, at the end of the day, actually killed it. The other animal might have shoved it in, but you killed it. Whatever I can collect from another guy, fine. But whatever I cannot collect from another guy, I will collect from you. So it's yeah, because the fact is the dead body, the dead carcass was found in your boy. So therefore it's more than just an ordinary case of 50%, and therefore what right do we have to collect more? You're more responsible than another guy. Let's say I placed a stone on top of the boy. There's a hole, a pit somewhere in the ground, and another guy came along and put a stone there, which caused it. So this is the color stumble. A shark came along and tripped on the stone. The nuff of the bird fell inside the bird. So you have the takala, and you have the thing that killed. The stone didn't kill the animal. The stone caused the animal to trip and fall inside the bird. The bird killed the animal. So what happens in this case? Won't cover it all. No, I put a stone right next to the bird. I put a stone, no. But the animal didn't fall into the bird. And we learn later on that a shei pekeach, a smart animal, will be, I'm not even responsible for. You should look where you're going. This is exactly the argument of Rab Nosson and Rabbanon. Now, what according to Rabbanon, that the owner of the stone has to pay, and because the stone is also like a bird, it's a stumbling block, and you cause the thing damage here, and the balboy is free. And according to Rab Nosson, they both have to pay. They both share the responsibility. It's not just Rab Nosson saying not just who can't pay. They're all sharing it. So this is the argument. Rab Nosson the Chacham. Saying what Pshita. You just learned it. Over there, the Baal Habor can say to the Baal Hashoyt, the Baal Habor says, I'm reducing my charge here because your animal would have killed the animal anyway. Your animal shoved the other animal, would have killed him anyway. So why should I pay the whole amount? I will the owner of the stone say to the Baal Habor, it wouldn't have been for a boy here, and the animal would have tripped in my stone. What would have happened? It would have fell down and stand up and walk on again. I've had it for your bird. What would my stone have done? He would have slipped. He would have fell down, but can you stand up? Kamashalan, that it's not a Kamashalan, no, your stone has caused all the damage. Exactly. That's about bird tiny. And you call so no, so according to the Rabbanan, no. According to the Rabbanan, the Balabar is totally free. Because the Balaboy says to the Evan, your stone is what caused it to fall. So therefore, you're totally responsible. It's like you're a mazik biyadayim. That's a boy. I made a hole, but you made another boy. Put a stone there. We had before avnei sakina and masay. You put a stone, you put a bag, you put a knife on the street, and people trip over it. You're responsible. So you're solely responsible. True, not for my bird. It wouldn't have, maybe you wouldn't have died. But the fact is that you did it. You pushed it into the bird. That's what Rabbanah says. And Rabbanah says, no, the two partners there, and you collect from both. But in the case of shoving, for sure the Balaboy can, according to Chum, can say, your animal would have killed him anyway. I did nothing. It will be learned. a different version of the Gemara here. We'll just do the version without the parentheses. Remember, we had a shoy psule hamikdashim. Psule hamikdashim is an animal that cannot be used in the base of mikdash anymore. It's consecrated, but it has a flaw, it has a defect. It cannot be used anymore. So it's like shoy the au. It is so you redeem it. So it's like yours. You redeemed it. It's like yours, and therefore you would be responsible, perhaps. But if it's yours today, it's a normal animal. But we learned before, we can learn later on in the Gemara, we learned from Hamei by a boy at least, by Hamei that the animal carcass belongs to you, and by Shoy Psulam Mikdashin, you cannot keep the carcass because you cannot feed it to your dogs. So it's not real ownership. So if a Shoy Psulam Mikdashin, we learned before, falls inside a boy, the owner of the boy is not responsible, even though it's Shoy to you, it's your friend, you should pay, but it's not Hamei Loy. Well, let's see what happens. So what happened? There were two partners here. Now we're talking about where they gored. They're not victims, they're gored. Shoyd and a shoy psule hamikdashim, a shoy and a shoy psule hamikdashim, shenoklu, that gored. There's a version here which is that they're talking about a pchoyer, talking about an animal that is a pchoyer that has a defect and the kohen can keep it, but it's not considered re'eyu here. Why isn't it considered re'eyu? Because whatever the kohen keeps from a pchoyer is because it belongs to Hashem, and the expression in Marbei is meshulchan gavoya kazach. The kohen is not eating his animal; it's Hashem's animal. So therefore, you have two partners. One animal is a chayiv animal, one animal is a patur animal. As we're learning right now, whichever way we're learning, talking about right now, we're assuming you have two partners, but one you can charge and one you can't. Abaye says, what happens in this case? You pay only half because only one of the partners you can charge. Another one you can't. There were two animals who shoved the other animal together or gored the animal together. Ravina says, he argues. And Ravina says, how much do you pay? It's very hard to say. So Ravina, because Ravina and Abai did not live at all, so some say it's a Rava. Now Rava said, Mishalim Ravina Nezik. You pay only a quarter Nezik. What's the argument here? What is the argument? Sorry? Because we'll see in a minute. If we're talking about a case of a tam, according to Rab Nosson, whatever you cannot collect from one, you collect another. So therefore, they're both a tam. The two partners in a tam, you collect a total of a half. So you collect the half from the animal that you can charge, and you collect nothing from the animal you cannot charge. You don't get more than a half because that's all. It's a tam. That's buy it. Rava says you only get a quarter. We understand that. Is very simple. If you follow Rab Nosson, whatever since you cannot collect from one animal, you collect everything from the animal. But what's the maximum you can collect? Half. According to the Rabbanon, which is what Rav is following, according to the Rabbanon, you don't go to the other person. So there are two partners for half. Well, one part, each one is responsible for a quarter. One of them is not. You cannot charge. Too bad. Simple. That's one answer. Another answer is say they're both Rabbanon. You cannot go to the other animal. But habatam habamuad. They're not even arguing. Abaye is talking about a case where it's a muad, and therefore half is 50%. And Abaye is talking about a case of a muad, and half is 50%. And the Rava is talking about a case of a tam, and two partners, and half is 50% of that, which is a quarter. And we're going to Chachamim that you cannot move from one to the other. You can only collect from each one whatever the maximum is. That's another answer. Or Ibai say another answer. Ikidamri. Others say a different version. Abaya ama chatzi nezik and Rava ama kula nezik. How do you explain that? If it's kula nezik, how do you explain that? So you can say Havakarabban pufaket. Just opposite we said before. They're both a muad. But if you follow the Rabbanans, each one only has to pay 50%. So therefore, you can only collect 50%. And that's Rava. Rava said you only collect 50% because each one you can only charge 50, and that's what you get. And but if you follow Rab Nosson, each one is liable for the whole amount. You cannot collect from the other guy. You go to this guy, you collect the whole amount. Or Ibai say, they're both like Rab Nosson that L'chaydi should get, but Habamur Abatam. A mu'eh, therefore you pay the full nezik. You can go to the shop Madashim, you go to the other animal, and if it's a tam, you cannot collect more than 50%. Amar Rava says, Rava, now we'll talk about a case of partners that can be. So here we talk about a case of partners where one partner can be charged and one can't. Amar Rava, shoyva adam shedachfu leboy. If a shoyr and an adam together partnered and they pushed, let's say, something into a boy. So it goes as follows. We'll see in a minute. So now you have three partners. We'll see in a second what they what they pushed away. We'll see. They could have pushed a person into a boy. They could have pushed an animal into a boy. We'll see. And there are three partners now. There's the person, there's the person, the Adam. There's the shoy that's shoving, and there's a boy. All three are partners. Is le'inyan the zikin when it comes to damages? Let's say you pushed a person in there. If a person falls into a bar and dies, you're not responsible. But if a person falls in the bar and gets damaged, then you are responsible. So then you have to share whatever it had the costs are. You pay the hezek part of it. Um, what do you call it? All three are responsible and they share it. If a person damages another person, you have to pay tsar, the pain, and ripui, the medical bills, and shevis and boishes. That does not apply to the bird. The bird doesn't have to pay that. The shah doesn't pay that. Or also paying, let's say, is a pregnant woman that now miscarried. Adam chayiv, only a person is chayiv. But the shah and the bird are potter because they don't have to pay those payments. Says ish v'loy shah and all that. Le'inyan kaifer. When we know that when it comes to kaifer, if an animal kills a person, the din is that we kill the animal and you pay kaifer. A person does not pay kaifer, but an animal kills a person, you pay kaifer. So let's say now that the payment of kaifer from the three partners, the shoyer, the adam, and the boy, who pays the kaifer? Ushleish shel eved is a penalty if you kill the eved $30. Who pays that? Shoychai. Only the shoyer has to pay that because that's the law. If he's a muad. There's only one opinion that a tam pays half the kaifer. Adam a boy pturim, an adam is part of a kaifer, boy potter, but the third guy pays that. Le'inyan kalim. Now we know when it comes to kalim by a boy, it says shoy v'loy adam and chamoy v'loy kalim. So let's say the guy broke pots and pans. So the adam who caused the pots and pans to break is responsible. The shoy is responsible, but the boy doesn't pay his share. Le'inyan kalim.
Because he gets killed. No?
But give different examples. What happened? What all it says is it's very vague. For Adam and Shai push something into the bird. So now we're going through each possible scenario. What did they push it?
A person doesn't pay because he gets killed.
That's right. Come with the rabbinate.
So
that's two reasons why. Either because come with the rabbinate. Some of the Shainim say that. Others say simply because the pasuk says only a Shai. The din of kaifer, it says in Yusha's Olav is talking about a Shai. Only by a Shai.
What if the Adam is the boss?
Yeah, but he's not paying it out. So then it's
if he's getting killed for his part of
good. The Gemara will talk about it. If you pay for your mom and part, how do you look at that? Le'inyan kalim, regarding kalim, and v'shoy psulem mikdashin. Let's say you pushed inside the boyer a shoyer of a psulem mikdashin that was redeemed already. So therefore, on the one hand, it's called re'eyu, because you redeemed it, now it's yours. On the other hand, it's not totally yours because you cannot feed it to your dogs. Is Adam has to pay. Shoy chayavin, a boy potter. A boy is potter from kalim because we know chamoy v'le kalim, but he also potter from shabbos and doshin. The question is why? My timer or my krov hameis yeloi. We already had it before. Says the pasuk that the bala boy has to pay and the carcass belongs to him. So we have total control. Then you have to pay. But when it comes to psula mikdashim, we learn out of tizbach or chalta that there's limitations what you can do with the animal. And it says basar v'loy chalav, and one of the things is chalta, but you cannot give it to your dogs to feed. No, you're not in total control. So it's not really hamesi eloi. So remember, says the Gemara, the Pshit Rabbas. You tell me now, Rabbas is saying 100% that if a show psula mikdashin falls into a bar, you don't have to pay. But the Rabbah himself actually asked the question. The boy Rabbah asked, "What's the question?" Shoy mikdashin should not pay the boy. Ma'u, what's the din? Hi v'hamesi shaloi. Do we dash in the pasuk of mesi shaloi? But misha mei shaloi. That's if you have total control. If the carcass falls away, you have total control. Yotzezeh shem shaloi. Here, the owner of the shoy mikdashin is not a total control. Therefore, you don't have to pay for it. This is only limited to boy. Ideal, if a person damages from Dashin Re'eyu, because you redeemed it. If a shor damages Re'eyu, when it falls in the bar, it's a Mesi Eloi. Ideal of a Mesi Eloi, or maybe we'll say that a Mesi Eloi is used for something totally different, which you looked at Aleph, and that is the Bailim Metaplin the Velos. The whole sugya after the Mishnah, that the owner, in other words, if let's say the animal is worth $100. And my animal killed your animal. Now that the carcass is 25. The owner of the original animal keeps the $25, and the mazik has to just pay the difference between the two. How do you know? Because the bailim metaplin b'nevela, so the bailim have to be metaplin b'nevela, And then when asked the question, we know that Yoshiv L'Rabbas of Vilashavakesa, I need a pasuk to tell me I can tell you keep the carcass. And the chiddush was that even though the carcass devalued from the time that of his death to the time he got to court, we look at it what it was worth at the time of death. That's the damage that I did. Boss of the boy, you're right. He had a question, but after he asked the question, how's the pastor? He resolved it. So the Gemara has a question. Okay, if you're going to use the Hamesi Eloi, that a sharp Sule Hamikdashin falls into a bar, I don't have to pay because the owner is not in total control. So Bailim how does he know that other thing that the owner of the carcass has to deal with the carcass and the mazik only pays the difference between the value of the carcass at the time of the damage and time of his death and the value of the animal. Nafka, he learns out from another passage where it says Hamesi Eloi. It there talks about an animal goring, and there's a muad. It says you have to pay shor tachas shor v'hamesi eloi. So we learn from the second hamesi eloi that other did. The shor. So the Gemara my chazis. So why did you decide that? But the mesi eloi written by Bor, you said is talking about a shor reduction, and therefore that din that you don't have to pay for an animal that's absolutely has a defect and was redeemed is only limited to Bor, because the hamesi eloi by Bor is referring to that. The Hamesi Eloi, when it talks about goring, that's talking about in general that I can say you keep the cock and not pay the difference. How do you know? My chod the Hamesi Eloi to show you use the second one by goring for that what the owner keeps the cock. Hamesi Eloi the boy and the boy is what is limiting that you don't have to pay. For Shreb Sudashim, maybe maybe it's the other way around, and maybe you never have to pay Shreb Sudashim because Hamesi Eloi by goring applies to that. And maybe that the keeping the carcass and all that only limited to bird, and if it's devalued too bad. So it makes sense. To a potter gabe boy, it makes more sense that this tour. Remember, it's coming to it's exonerate you. It's telling you that you don't have to pay at all for psumidashin. They have a choice to put it by goring or put it by boy. I'd rather put it by boy. You know why? Because there are certain other leniencies by boy you don't find anywhere else. For example, hoyle potter was a kalim. If pots fall inside a boy and they break, you don't have to pay. That's an unbelievable leniency. So therefore, also another leniency that you don't have to pay for sharp psula hamikdashin. So the Gemara, we're talking about by shoy is even worse. No matter what the damage is, you only pay half the first 3 times. Says the Gemara, but at least you have to pay. The fact is you have to pay something. You don't find a case by shoy where you're totally potter. By showing you by boy, you don't pay a cent. Okay, we don't say you pay half the nezik, you don't pay a cent. So therefore, there's a leniency by boy you don't find nowhere else. And therefore, we say that.